Teacher vanished from school hallway in 2003. 21 years later, her lesson plan revealed a cryptic goodbye. Hello, my viewers. Welcome to the channel. We are just getting started, and your support means a lot. If you enjoy these stories, please consider subscribing and help us reach our first 1,000 subscribers. Thank you for being here. They were gutting the east hallway when the tiles gave way. A construction worker stepped through what should have been solid flooring, but instead, his boot disappeared into a cavity. No vent, no blueprint, no sign it was ever meant to exist. It had been sealed shut, with decades of beige paint. Inside, they found a manila folder, warped from moisture, stained, still faintly smelling of chalk, dust, and something oddly sweet. The label on the front, block letters, thick black ink. Subject: farewell. Week of March 3rd, 2003. They opened it. No attendance sheets, no assignments, just 5 handwritten pages, each one marked with a day of the week. But the writing wasn't instructional. It was something else. Tuesday's page read, "The hallway sees more than the eyes ever will. Follow the flicker." Thursday, "My voice is in the walls now. Let them listen." And Monday, "I'll be gone by the final bell. But don't worry, I never really left." The handwriting? Confirmed. Lorna Whitaker, Hartwell Middle School, Room 2B, Social Studies, 12 years. She signed out of the front office on March 7th, 2003, at exactly 3:48 p.m. She never made it to her car. No scream, no struggle, no camera footage. Her purse was still in her desk, her coat still on the hook. She simply vanished for 21 years. The official theory was quiet resignation. A woman who walked away. No husband, no children, no close friends. Her sister in Maryland said they hadn't spoken in 6 years. But teachers don't leave behind their own lesson plans. Not like this. That same week in 2003, Lorna filed a maintenance request. Room 2B was cold, the heating uneven, but that wasn't what stood out. She'd written, "Room feels wrong, like something is watching through the vent." The janitor dismissed it. He said the building creaked. Sighed, just old bones shifting. But the vent above her blackboard had been sealed shut from the inside. No airflow, no way in. One of her students, Nolan J. 11, told his parents he saw something shiny in that vent. He said it looked like an eye. No one reported it. Years later, we interviewed Nolan. He remembered everything. She used to pause mid-sentence. He said, "Just stare at the corner above the flag." Like she heard something we didn't. He said she whispered, more than she spoke. She told the class to draw maps of the school, not from memory, from instinct. She told them, "Don't think, just draw what the building wants you to see." Nolan drew a hallway with too many doors, a hallway he swears was never part of the school, but he remembers it. The ink from Lorna's lesson plan was tested. It matched a discontinued pen brand. Production ended in 2005. The paper? Water damaged, but not from 2003. It had only dried recently. Weeks ago, that folder had been kept somewhere damp, then placed inside a sealed, hidden crawlspace, which means someone kept it, and someone returned it. But who? And why now? There was one more clue. A second discovery. Security footage. Room 2B. March 6th, 2003. 6:02 p.m. At first, nothing. An empty, dark classroom. Then, a flicker. Lorna appears. She's holding a red folder. She walks to her desk, but pauses, turns, looks straight into the camera. Not startled, not afraid. Calm, like she knew it would be watching. She mouths something. Then, the frame jumps, and she's gone. No movement, no exit, just an empty room. We tracked down the old janitor. Peter Walsh. He remembered the east hallway. Not the missing teacher. Not the folder. Just the light. The one over the staff door kept flickering. He told us. Out. Then on. Then out again. He said. It wasn't wiring. It was watching. Then he laughed. A little too long. A little too quiet. There's something wrong with that hallway. It's longer than it should be. No windows. No lockers. Just smooth paint and silence. In 1974, a 13-year-old girl vanished from the same corridor. Kara Mills. No body. No trace. Her case file sits in the same drawer as Lorna Whitaker's. Drawer label. Unresolved East Corridor cases. Only 3 files exist. 3 people who vanished between room 2B and the janitor's closet at the far end of the hall. The closet that hadn't been opened in decades. Until now, behind the closet wall, another crawl space. Smaller, darker, coated in chalk dust. Inside, a folded crayon drawing. A map. It matched Nolan's. Same hallway. Same impossible doors. And taped to the back wall. An index card. Block letters, faded. I was not the first. There are buildings that hold memories like lungs hold breath. Walls that learn silence like a second language. Some places don't forget. They just wait. Lorna Whitaker didn't run. She disappeared. Into the design. Into the blueprints. The crawl spaces. The seams no one knew to look for. And now, after 21 years, someone is sending messages back. One line at a time. One page at a time. But the real question isn't what she wrote. It's this. Who put the folder back? And what else did they leave behind? They opened the wall. Behind the old janitor's closet. At 3:12 p.m. The drywall had been scored before. Not recently, years ago. Long enough that the cut lines were buried beneath 5 coats of district-approved paint. Inside was a cavity. Just 30 inches wide, but nearly 8 feet tall. A vertical space, like a chimney shaft, but with no venting, no purpose. They lowered a camera inside. The feed crackled, then stabilized. Near the bottom, a shoe, black, dust-covered, children's size 6. And nearby, curled against the corner, a cassette tape. Its label was cracked, water-blurred. Only one word still legible in faded blue ink. Friday. The tape was taken to the audio lab. It was warped, almost unplayable. But after several hours of restoration, they got 15 minutes of usable sound. No music, no conversation, just silence. And then, a single voice. A woman's. Breathy, measured. They don't understand the layout. She says, the rooms don't end where they think they do. A long pause, then static. Movement, and finally, almost whispered, if you stand in the dark long enough, the school starts to hum. That's when it opens. Then, a soft knock, 3 times, and the tape cuts. The shoe was harder to trace. No match to Lorna's personal effects. No student records connected to that size or style. But when they dusted the insole, they found a single fingerprint. Partial, small. Likely a child, too degraded for a match, but recent enough. That hadn't been there for 20 years. In 2003, no one believed a structure could be listening. But Lorna did. Her journal, never entered into evidence, was recently recovered from a sealed box in school storage. It wasn't filed under her name. It was tucked behind a broken projector cart, labeled AV Archive. Inside the first page, in tiny slanted writing, the building shifts when they aren't looking. I think it wants to be seen. I'm leaving a map in the lesson. The school counselor at the time, Margaret Dale, had once flagged Lorna for dissociative effect. But when asked again, 21 years later, her tone changed. She wasn't detached, Margaret said. She was trying to be quiet, trying not to trigger something. She didn't think she was losing her mind. She thought the school was watching her lose it. We went back to the original floor plans. The blueprints. Hartwell Middle School. 1959. Then updated in 1986. Then again in 1996. And with each version, something curious. The east hallway got shorter. By inches. Then by feet. Doors were removed. Labels erased. Closets that once had names were folded into structural voids. But the walls remained, meaning someone was altering the maps, but not the structure. And then, in one of the oldest sets of prints, tucked between the layers, we found a mark, barely visible, a faint circle, drawn in pencil, at the intersection between room 2B and the east hallway. Inside the circle, a word, listen. When they scanned the wall behind room 2B, the equipment spiked. Not for electricity, not water, but magnetism. Something metallic, buried in the wall cavity. They drilled, carefully, and pulled out a box. A tin lunchbox. Mid-80s. Peanuts cartoon on the lid. Inside, wrapped in wax paper, a collection of small objects. A blue marble. A crumpled piece of paper with a drawing of an eye. A melted crayon. And a note. Child's handwriting. Miss Lorna says don't go in the wall. She says the hallway doesn't want me. I hear it calling when the lights flicker. We cross-referenced the handwriting with student files. It matched a child named Calabar, age 9, transferred to another district in spring of 2003. Reason listed: parental relocation due to safety concerns. No forwarding address. No digital records after that year. His file ends with a single posted note. Didn't sleep. Drew doors that didn't exist. Lorna didn't leave a trace because the building absorbed it. She left warnings, hidden like eggs in a cracked nest, in lesson plans, in walls, in children's drawings. She didn't run. She was studying it. She believed the building was shifting, room by room, inch by inch, taking space that wasn't its own. And when it found her, it didn't just take her body. It took her voice, her patterns, her rhythm. That's why the tape wasn't blank. That's why the lesson plan wasn't written all at once. They were layered, like echoes, like something mimicking speech, but forgetting how time works. There was one more object, in the lunchbox, tucked into the bottom, beneath the paper. A Polaroid, gray and faded, but unmistakable. A section of the east hallway, empty, except a figure, blurry, distant, facing the wall, both hands pressed flat against the paint, and above her head, drawn in faint red marker, a circle, same as the blueprint. Inside it, a single word. Still, we don't know who took the photo, or when. We only know this. The wall it depicts was demolished last week, and behind it, they found nothing. Just concrete, smooth, undisturbed, as if the room had never been there, as if it had closed itself, after swallowing something whole, or someone. The hallway lights still flicker at 3:48 p.m. every Friday. That's the exact time Lorna Whitaker was last seen. And every time the lights cut, for just a second, room 2B feels longer, like it's trying to breathe in. The reconstruction paused. The superintendent issued a formal halt on further demolition of the east wing. But some crews stayed behind, voluntarily. One of them, a part-time electrician named Ellis Grant, refused payment. He said he just wanted to see how deep the walls go. On April 24th, he brought his own equipment, thermal sensors, acoustic mapping tools, even a reel-to-reel tape recorder. He claimed digital devices weren't picking up the signals, but analog caught something. He placed the microphone directly against the north-facing wall of room 2B. Let it run overnight. The next morning, he played the reel back. It was mostly static, shifting pressure, dust moving. Then, Faint humming, tonal, layered, and behind it, the sound of chalk, scraping a blackboard. One long, continuous line. No breaks, no punctuation, just a single, dragging sound. That same day, custodial staff found a door ajar, room 3C, and used since 2011, sealed due to asbestos concerns. But now, the door was open 6 inches. Inside, empty desks, dry air, and one thing out of place. A single chair, placed backward, facing the corner. On the seat, a mirror, propped upright. The glass was perfectly clean, but across the bottom, etched into the surface. This is the last place I saw her. No one claimed responsibility. No one on staff remembered unlocking the room. No footprints. No tampering. Just a chair, the mirror, and that phrase. It wasn't Lorna's handwriting. Not exactly. But the slope of the E. The way the S curves into itself. It was close. Like someone mimicking her. We revisited a series of student drawings from spring 2003, kept in a plastic tub, labeled Ms. Whitaker Art Integration. They weren't conventional assignments, not maps, not diagrams. They were scenes, each one drawn with heavy pressure. Charcoal, pencil, crayon, and all of them shared one thing. No doors, rooms with no exit, hallways that folded into themselves, staircases leading nowhere. One child drew a teacher, standing in front of a blackboard, but her face was a mirror, and in that mirror, a hallway with no end. A note on the back of that drawing said, "We weren't supposed to look," but she said, it was okay if we only looked once. The handwriting belonged to a student named Mara Ellison, age 10, transferred out of state in April 2003. But 2 weeks ago, she contacted us. Out of nowhere. Her message was simple. I saw the video. The one with the mirror. I remember now. She made us walk backward. Into the room. So we wouldn't see it change. I think it was protecting us. But got her instead. We asked Mara if she remembered what it was. She said nothing at first. Then later, one sentence. Typed. I don't think it had a shape. It was just a wrong part of the school that no one noticed until she did. We sent a team to investigate room 3C. This time with permission. The mirror was gone. So was the chair. But in the far corner of the room, beneath a loose tile, was a spiral-bound notebook. Warped from moisture. The edges mold softened. Inside 37 pages. All blank. Except the last one. Written in the same black ink as the original folder. You don't vanish all at once. You vanish in stages. First the voice, then the name, then the shape of your footsteps in the hall. That sentence was enough to reopen the case. Lorna's file was marked active for the first time in 2 decades. The FBI brought in specialists in environmental architecture. They scanned the foundation, tracked heat displacement, and in doing so, they uncovered something else. The east hallway had one more anomaly. A curved line beneath the floor. Sub-basement level. No access. No doors. Just a sealed crescent. Under the very center of room 2B. They broke through the floor. At 2:27 p.m. What they found wasn't a room. It was a corridor. Narrow. Curved. Descending. No lights. No signage. But halfway down, another chair. This one wooden. Old. Facing a wall. Painted solid white. On the wall, a single taped sheet of paper. The kind used for classroom printouts. And on it, a word. Typed. Attendance. The list beneath it was all first names. But none of them matched current records. Not students. Not staff. Names like Hollis, Neve, Ronan, Lyric, Della. 21 in total. The last name on the list, underlined twice in red ink. Lorna. They took the list for testing. No fingerprints. But the tape used to affix the page? It matched the same adhesive used on the original farewell folder. Same chemical makeup. Same shelf life. Whoever left this list used the same materials. That returned the folder. But something else happened. That day, at exactly 3:48 p.m., as the corridor lights above room 2B flickered, every clock in the building briefly stopped. 14 seconds. Then they resumed, except one, a wall clock, hanging outside room 2B. Its hands remained still. Both pointed directly downward. 6 o'clock, frozen, and scrawled into the bottom of the frame, with something sharp. She's still taking attendance. There's something about that hallway that feels heavier now. Not with fear, but with memory. Like every footstep adds weight to the floor. Lorna left traces. Not in blood, not in screams, but in lesson plans. In children's eyes. In the structure. That keeps shifting. Just enough to stay out of reach. And if she's still there, somewhere between the wall and the breath of the building itself, she's not alone. On May 2nd, they brought in cadaver dogs. The corridor under room 2B was too narrow for human teams to navigate safely. But the dogs, trained for mass disaster zones, could sense what humans couldn't. They were led to the lower level, in silence, and halfway through the descent, they stopped. Not barking, not alerting, just still. One lay down, the other pressed its nose against the white wall, with the tape paper labeled attendance. Then it backed away, whining, low, not from fear, but grief. No remains were found, no clothing, no human tissue, nothing biological. But near the floor, under loose tile, they recovered a final object, a cassette player, portable, gray, worn smooth. Inside, tape 2, labeled Monday. They didn't press play right away. The room was too quiet, too heavy, the kind of silence that presses in from behind the ears. One of the officers swore. He heard whispering before the tape even played, but no one else heard it. They hit play. It started with static, then a faint scrape, then her voice. Lorna's. Soft, measured, tired. They don't know what the hallway remembers. Every name, every step, every child that dreamed wrong. Pause. It didn't want me. It waited. It watched. And then it opened. Another pause. The sound of breathing. Not panicked. Not frantic. Just present. Then, if this reaches someone, tell them the building isn't broken. It was designed this way. Click. Silence. End of tape. We sent the cassette to audio forensics. It was real. Untampered. The magnetic signal degraded. Just enough to confirm its age. Over 20 years old. But the dust inside the player was new, meaning someone had handled it recently, meaning someone brought it back again. Later that night, Ellis Grant, the same electrician who had recorded the wall sounds, left the site. He didn't return, but he left a voicemail on the investigator's line at 2:13 a.m. His voice was low, cracked, like he hadn't spoken in hours. It doesn't stop at room 2B. He said, there's something in the vents, feeding back through the wiring. It hums in a loop. I saw a drawing taped inside a panel. A face. No eyes. I think she drew it after she vanished. It wasn't for us. It was for the building. Then the call cut. They traced the number. It pinged near the school. But when they searched the area, nothing. No trace of Ellis. No car. No footprints. Just a single item. Left at the east stairwell landing. His flashlight. Still on. Still warm. Pointing downward. At a smear of white chalk. On the linoleum. A circle. Inside it. A name. Lorna. written 3 times, all in a child's hand. By May 10th, the school board had reached a decision. Hartwell Middle School would be permanently closed. Too many unexplained structural faults. Too many missing blueprints. Too many names. No one could verify. The final decision was quiet. No media. No press. Just a small notice. On the district website, Hartwell Middle School will not reopen in the fall. No mention of Lorna. No mention of the corridor, or the tapes, or the children's drawings, or the attendance list. That still had no origin. Before demolition, the team returned one last time. A final sweep. Thermal scans. Pressure maps. One device registered a hollow space beneath the school's foundation. Too deep to drill. Too narrow to reach. But the sonar picked up a pattern. Not rock. Not water. Not air. Something flat. Deliberately placed. Something shaped like a chair. And beside it, a standing figure. Statue-sized. Or human. They ran the scan 3 times. Each result returned the same image. Then, without explanation, the machine shut off. On May 14th, a box arrived at the police station. Unmarked. No return address. Inside, 2 items. A chalkboard eraser. And a slip of paper. Typed. They keep calling roll. No fingerprints. No postage. Just dust. And silence. The case remains open. No body. No suspect. No evidence admissible in court. Just echoes. And structure. And names that don't belong. On any roster. There are buildings that do more than stand. They observe. They record. They absorb. And when something is quiet long enough, it doesn't disappear. It becomes part of the design. That's what Lorna knew. That's what she left behind. Not a scream. Not a goodbye. But a lesson. Written between the lines. Buried in a wall. Recorded in a whisper. Folded into the rhythm of the lights. And even now, if you walk past the old school, on a Friday, at 3:48 p.m., you might see a flicker through the boarded windows, just for a second. And if you listen closely, you might hear the faintest sound. Chalk against a board that no longer exists. And the last name ever called, on the last known attendance sheet, from room 2B, wasn't Lorna. It was a name no one remembers enrolling. No student file. No district ID. Just 7 letters, typed clean and centered, on the final page. If you found this story intriguing, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more unsettling mysteries every day.